Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Greetings and salutations and welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and our show today is presenting Pet Psychic AMINAH. And we're going to be talking about a very important subject, especially for the dear birds out there wondering who put that window there. I didn't want to fly into it. We're going to talk about how to protect birds from deadly collisions with our windows. So let me officially present Pet Psychic AMINAH. Hello.
Hello.
Good to see you.
You are doing a wonderful. How's the weather in that studio?
It's very nice. I got out today. I went to the dentist, and I love going to the dentist. One of my favorite things. So that was, so I got out. It's absolutely exceptionally beautiful today. How's it there in California?
Wonderful. Sunny.
Never rains in California.
And I don't know if you've heard, we finally, I think it was announced yesterday or the day before, we finally officially, the entire state, passed out of
drought,
of the water shortage.
Yay, that's great news.
I don't know, 5 or 10 years.
That's amazing.
It is really amazing. And I've always talked about that. I live on this giant hill and it's just stunning. It's stunning. Of course, the mustard bothers me, and because it's not native here. It was brought in, and so it's very invasive, but it's beautiful to see the hills just covered with all kinds of growth.
The hills are alive with the sound of music.
You bring in song anytime.
So you came up with this subject, which I actually really was like, wow, this is interesting. I never actually thought about before.
Right.
What was the inspiration for you to want to talk about this today?
I am always keeping my ear to the ground and or the internet and many things, but because I am an empath, and if you don't understand what that is I feel what animals feel. That is a really strong part of my gift. And it's not only what I hear through a guide. Gabriel is my guide. He's the archangel, as some people know. I didn't pick him. He picked me. So when I would hear more of a male voice, I attribute that more to him and his guidance. But I have always heard the birds and the bees and the dogs and the cats, and why I can speak in most of the time when I do a reading for somebody, I'm speaking in the first person, because they're animals. Once their owner has introduced us, even on a phone from anywhere in the world, animals are more than willing to talk to me, because most people who call me talk to their animals every day. Hi, how are you? What are you doing? Having a great day. Well, we do it all day long to our cats. And I do that with the insects and the bugs, and I bless them. And, we've talked about how you go, okay, you stay over there, I'll stay over here. And we have that relationship. So I'm always researching what's new, what's latest, so that I can keep my social media is educational. It's fun, but it's educational. I'm only on Facebook and LinkedIn. And I do that specifically because I don't want to be everywhere. And here on your show, you give me a chance to actually be live. So I don't post any other live feeds except for this one, because I'm hoping we always There's no hoping. I'm going to take the hope out of there because we always cover the most dynamic things. So I did an entire article post out on LinkedIn and Facebook talking about all the resources and how simple it is to save the birds' lives. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
All right. Thank you for explaining that. That is quite interesting. Have you found that there are certain species of birds, types of birds that are more likely to fly into a window? That's
Overall, no, because you're talking about an animal whose entire mode of transportation is to fly from one place to another. What has happened is urbanization. What has happened is we've built so many skyscrapers and so many antennas. Believe it or not, they're dangerous too, besides the electricity they emit. But we are now literally, I'd like to use the word competing with trees, but the trees have lost. So the competition isn't even a 50-50 here. We are cutting down, we are clear cutting, we are doing all of these things besides the pollution. So the habitat for every species is in dire straits because of our lifestyle. And I just want to encourage everybody to put the bird feeder out if you can and make sure it's natural. Go to a bird store. And I mean a store that helps you put up the right bird feeder or the right plants in your yard. I always plant things like milkweed because the monarch butterfly is seriously in danger because of our use of Roundup. I'm as guilty. I didn't know that 25 years ago. And I was like, great, I don't have to pull as many weeds. But these chemicals are decimating the insects we do need. And the honeybee, I've preached this forever, is everything you want to eat, everything. And every animal you want to eat is tied to a honeybee because those meats that you're eating, like cattle, they need grass. Well, you need a honeybee to create the pollination that grows the grass. So what we're going to talk about today is how to protect birds of flight, especially if you are in a very tall building where you're not really close to the ground and you, let's say, have cars or trees or some other obstacle that might give the bird an idea that, wait a minute, that glass is not something I can fly through, because they don't understand that. So what we're going to do is talk about what do you do to still have your great view, because I absolutely love mine. I'm sitting in front of my one big giant window here and I love it. But how do you save a life or 300 and not have a bird that breaks its neck because it ran into the glass and doesn't understand that? And you could still have that beautiful view. That's what we're going to cover.
all right. That sounds very interesting. So does this also apply to vehicles, windshields, windows?
You would think it should, but legally and safety wise, because the way we live our life, that's not possible. You can put film on, but in most states now it's illegal. Do you remember, we were growing up and it was the 50s, 60s, 70s, I think it really hit, where people were putting the film on.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in the desert. Film would have been great. We didn't put it on our car or my dad's station wagon, but it was hot. You just literally got in, because all our seats were vinyl. Remember those days? There were not fabric seats. They were not, only the rich people owned those. Yeah, and you just burned your butt every time you sat down. Whoop. You just kind of did the
frying pan.
The hot dance. And we would put towels on the seats. I remember seeing my mom take a seat cushion from the kitchen, that you put on a kitchen chair.
Mm-hmm.
You put that in the car because she just got tired, driving everywhere. I remember learning how to drive. Now, nobody needs to know that I started driving when I was 11. I was really tall by then. I was the same height as I am now. I'm actually probably a little shorter, just age and compression. But everybody thought I was older. So one day I got a job with Parks and Rec, and everybody just assumed I was 18. And because I was really tall already for that age. And so somebody handed me their keys and said, hey, yeah, could you drive the truck over down Blah? And I was like, oh yeah, can. I'm going to, I don't know. But I did. And I never crashed. But the seats are burning hot because they're all that vinyl or plasticky stuff. So yeah, we were putting towels down and all of that kind of stuff. So birds really need to keep on the move, and they need that ability to do that, but safely. A moving car's a little easier to realize, hey, maybe that's not where I want to go. But let's say the bird sees flowers on your kitchen table right on the other side of your window. And they're like, ooh, let's go check that one out. And they smash into it. And 90% of the time they break a neck and or a wing, feeder the third. So it's seriously tragic. I've seen the birds on the ground where the strike is really heavy. Dr. JACALYN, you've heard of the windmills that are in farmlands, right? Where you can really see them. Where's it? Midwest, Mideast, something.
Wind farms?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they've got them out in the desert. And they're really doing wonderful work today. But I remember when they were first going up and you thought, well, that looks very strange, because we were used to windmills, and they're turning water and they're bringing that water up to the ground. But this is now creating energy. Well, the side effect of that was it also is decimating bird populations where the windmills are, where those whatever they call them, wind machines do, because they're very narrow. They're meant to circulate the air. They're meant to create power and energy. The problem is bird can't possibly keep up with that. So they're doing a lot of research and have been on how to make them more reflective in the way a bird sees, not the way the people see. Because I don't know you, if you've got this windmill and it's over 25 feet high, I don't care what it's doing out there. Honestly, I'm down here on the ground, and they're doing them like in the Sacramento Valley. It's just a big old plain of flat. So it's a perfect place where they have been testing these windmills. So what do you do when you have these beautiful homes and you have this just a huge, huge space of glass? Or you just have a little kitchen window and you have these beautiful palm trees or oak trees or whatever. And so the birds are there and they look in your window and go, oh, cool. I could use something of that and I want to go look. Well, they now have a plethora. And I mean they, meaning just Google any shop, any store, and you can look on my Facebook. I put a whole bunch of pictures. So when you're looking at our show right now, you can see that I have a pink, beautiful, like decoration behind my head. Think of how subtle that is and how tasteful that is. And you can put something like that on your windows that you worry about bird strike, because the birds won't recover. Once they're injured, they're done. They lose a leg. It's really hard to land on another tree. It's really hard to survive. So you can get these beautiful films that are as simple as our pink background or have a design. And it is literally a film that can lay over your glass. The nice thing is they come in every decoration, every color style, every thickness, simple pull on, take off. You can make it almost sheer and make it reflective for the bird, sees that this is a solid piece, but you have full vision outside of it. So think about it maybe like a screen. Your screen isn't completely see-through because it's made of a mesh to keep all the leaves and whatever could blow when you open your window. It's the same kind of theory, so that you can really, really see out of your windows, enjoy it. And I know a lot of people really are concerned about, well, I don't want to put that stuff up. Just think, your windows stay cleaner, or they at least look cleaner.
Now, a question I have for you, if we do this and let's say at some point a bird is injured, should we try to
You
help
need
the
to call
bird?
a wildlife sanctuary immediately.
Okay.
They're the ones licensed and have the tools and have the vet staff to handle this immediately. So in California, where I am, you can call not only Fish and Wildlife, but you can call the universities. So we have San Diego's, the college in San Diego. We have one in Davis. The college in Davis, UC Davis, is known for its medical veterinary programs and a lot of other animal programs. Just call your city hall and say, where do I start? Maybe if it's something you're very concerned about happening and you'd like a resource like having 911 for fire or flood or whatever, call them before you need it. Call them before you need it and say, I'd like some recommendations. If you really want to see, and I apologize, I had hoped I'd already downloaded the pictures, and actually I did, but I didn't send them to Dr. Jacalyn. So on my site, and I'll post them again today, I have a plethora of pictures of what do we want to call them? They're very thin and they just lay over your windows and they're beautiful. Everything from stained glass pictures to a little bit of off color. So you're not just putting tan sunblocks. They are artistic now. And the whole idea is to just create a little distraction so the bird says, oh, wait a minute, that's not somewhere I can fly. That's not where I can keep going. And that's what glass looks like to them. They don't have a concept of glass or screens. Now, if you never clean your screens, that might work too.
I like it. So we take this measure and we're actually contributing to saving lives.
Absolutely. And let's go to the next step is, why should I care? Well, if you like to eat anything, is what I always back into. We need all of nature. We need our humanity. People are doing so much damage with our ability to leave litter everywhere. And you and I don't know, I'm not going to say that for you, but I know me. I have literally walked in from my front door and then I go back out, whatever, a day, 20 minutes, whatever later, and I see a gun wrapper or I had a cough drop or something on the ground and I know it's mine. And I'm like, oh, it happens to all of us. It's not like I purposely put my hand in my pocket and got the keys out and didn't see the wrapper go. So I'm not saying everybody's evil and terrible and lazy and all that. No, I want to bring a positivity of, if you can do what you can do. For me, I drive a few of my family members crazy because when I go places and I see trash on the ground and I know in whatever so many steps I'm going to be going right by a trash can, then I pick it up. And a lot of times I get, oh, that's icky, that's dirty. Well, I can use a Kleenex and do it, but guess what? I go wash my hands. But I'd rather pick it up knowing that a bird or something small gets stuck in it, especially like the aluminum cans. They have a really sharp place where you drink, which to your mouth, it doesn't matter because when you put your mouth in, it's very soft. But for an animal who wants to crawl inside and then realizes they've scratched themselves all up, and that aluminum can's not going to go anywhere. And guess what? You can save enough for them and get some money back. So I want you to see the positive of coexisting. This is my platform. This is the word that comes out at almost every show is, I want us to say, I think you matter. It would be for me personally, Dr. Jacalyn, if I went to your neighborhood or I voted for something that would decimate your state where you live, because I don't care. Because I don't care if they put a coal mining plant in your backyard and kick you all out and 5,000 people lose their home. Maybe we could think of a better way to use it. I want you to think about animals, specifically nature and the plants and the planet we are on. Everybody on the news is so excited that for the first time in, I don't know, 10, 15 years, a very long time, California is out of a drought. Now we have a ton of water they don't know what to do with, but they're managing it. They're really, really doing a great job managing it and trying to really stock up the stores. Because we all know right now we're still dealing with climate change and we're still dealing with the residuals of it. And I cheer everybody on for doing what they can. I haven't had to water a plant in, I don't know, months. Because what I do is I go out, let me give you this as an example. I go out and take any kind of container. This is just a water bottle. That's all it is. And I took off the top. I can put an old cup outside. I can put an old pot that hasn't got a hole in the bottom. I do this every winter and have, I don't know, for 20 years. Because I don't know, maybe I'm lazy and cheap and I put watering cans out where the rain will fall. And guess what? They're all filled. They're all filled when I get there and need that water. This is what I want to talk about also with bird strikes. We need them. If you love beautiful hillsides with wildflowers everywhere, guess what? Those seeds are being spread by the birds. And it comes with manure because they usually eat them, poop them out. They land in the ground or they're harvesting them from the plants and the flowers. So how exciting would it be to help these lives continue to thrive, not just exist? Existing is okay, but let's have a bigger goal.
Let's work together and make it happen for sure.
Exactly. And the first thing you do is save a lot of money by getting a person out to fix your windows when the bird hits it. And you not only probably have a dead bird, which died from a broken neck. Most of them, when they strike, they break their neck. It's horrible. It's just, for people like me, it's just heartbreakingly horrible. And please go and look at this. And Dr. Jacalyn, I highly apologize that I didn't send them to you earlier because I now see them on my desktop. But they are these beautiful scenes. And you can get everything from mountains to like water drops. And they're just, think of like wax paper, but that has that adhesive, what is that stuff we used to line our dresser drawers with?
Yes, I know what you mean.
that paper.
Thing.
Yeah. And so it is literally, you put it up, you roll it out, and there you got it. So you can still see out. You can still have your screen on your front door if that's the home you are in. And you have the collection I was able to find were literally everything. Beautiful rocks, beautiful landscapes, just colors, and they were subtle, super, super subtle. That's why our background, I didn't think of this until the show, the pink background behind my head is a perfect example. Maybe why I was not supposed to have those pictures here, so that you could see. It doesn't take away the fact that I'm sitting here and we're talking, or that you can see the USA Global TV logo and the fabulous little animals that Dr. Jacalyn put together. And imagine that with all the little folds in the pink on a window. There now are thousands of choices to decorate your windows and still get the sunlight and still get to enjoy looking out, because you don't necessarily need, 12 feet of glass to see out. You will also save a lot of furniture if they are close by and they're getting beat down by the sun of the windows. There are benefits to you besides not having a bird strike.
And when we think about bird feeders or bird houses, I know you've spoken on other shows about not feeding wild animals. What are your thoughts about feeding the birds? And how often should you put the food out? I mean, is that their primary source of food?
It shouldn't be. It should never be. We should never be seen as a food source. And and that is why for me, what I have to practice, what I preach, is I would love to see you plant a sunflower if you have birds that love those types of seeds. I'd love to see you put in milkweed for the monarch butterfly. They're so challenged with all the Roundup and the chemicals we use. The monarch butterfly is seriously endangered of just disappearing on us and have in so many areas. But if you provide these amazing plants, and it's so easy now, everything can be Googled, everything can be researched. You can go to a nursery, and I am a huge fan of Home Depot and Lowe's and all the construction places. The problem is they no longer, at least in California, they no longer hire arborists or people who specialize in plants and animals and that type of stuff. So they don't have anybody but a cashier that is very talented. They always get the order correct, but they don't know anything about the plants. If you go to the stores that have arborists there and have plant people there, they are literally going to be able to walk you through and say, this one is good for this. This one is good for this. This one has. Now, most plants in stores have directions on them, on the little tag that says it's this kind of stuff. And you could literally walk around and Google it on your phone. So I want you to know there's no limit to whatever your ability is and your time is, because what I love going to the nurseries and going to the garden stores is to see what's new. What do they have? What haven't I ever planted or grown that's new and different? Because I've done a lot. So it's really fun to see the new hybrids and the new things that you can try. And in all of that, you could at least get one that the monarch butterfly loves and one that the honeybee loves. Because I do honor and understand that a lot of people are afraid of bees and they attune them to wasps and everything. Bees do not sting you unless they feel threatened. So let's not threaten them. Let's keep all kinds of wonderful things out. And yes, people are allergic to them. And you can put the plants on the side or away from the walkway or away from wherever your children play if you're concerned about that. It is a real danger for some people to be stung by bees. What I did, and I don't know if I've talked about this in a long time on the show, but I grew up in the high desert. So it's Joshua trees and cactus. There's not a lot of plants, but my mother planted a lot of things. I ended up having horrific allergies when I moved to a really tropical part of California and just couldn't breathe, sneezing. Lots of Kleenex always traveled with me. Then I found out about honey because I started working with kids, working with a honeybee expert. And he taught me so much as I learned with the kids. And what I found is by eating the honey raw, has to be raw, has to be local, because those honeybees are taking and making that honey from the pollen they get from the local plants. So if you have allergies, you want to love a lot of bees, but you can put honey basically on anything. Now, I don't recommend it for tea or coffee or any of the hot things because it cooks the pollen too much. You need it raw. You need to stick a spoon in and take a little spoon every day. And within 6 months, Dr. Jacalyn, I stopped using nasal spray. And I was living on nasal spray plus 3 allergy tablets a day just to breathe. And because I was gardening so much and I was teaching gardening. And so I was outside all the time, and I carried a pile of Kleenex. Now, I still carry Kleenex, but I have none of those horrible, horrible, horrible. I just couldn't breathe. I was out on nasal spray. I was on 2 or 3 pills a day to breathe to get through all of this. One of the beekeepers saw how bad I was. He stopped me and he said, "Have you thought about taking honey?" And that's when my education on honey really came in. And then I got a whole bunch of youth involved and their parents into putting up hives. And I was really fortunate to have a company that had acreage and let us do all this and put the hives out for the kids and teach that. So again, I love teaching what I find out. And this is that moment to share with all of you. Try whatever you can. You could put pollen in your cereal. You could, and I don't recommend like hot cereal because it cooks it. You want it as raw as possible, can handle. And if you, especially if you have an allergy to it, little bit on your finger, maybe lick that a little at a time. Be careful. Be careful and think about a little at a time constantly is better than a whole bunch once, because you need the body to start looking at it and saying, oh, I like this. I don't have a rash anymore. I don't have allergies anymore. I am a living testament to the fact that I do still carry allergy tablets when I'm going to go out into the garden. Sometimes it picks up depending on the plants I'm working with. But I wish I could dig into my pockets and go, see, no Kleenex. But
I'd love to have you just address a little bit about local honey. We've talked about this before, but why is it
yes,
important to get good local honey?
because that's the flowers year round. I really want to make this so simple. If you live in Canada, that's a really big country. But if you live in Ottawa, it's still a big city. But you want to get down to your local plants. So for me, I'm in California and we have California poppies pretty much everywhere, or could if they're around, but we have a lot of different grass. And so many people have allergies to grass, all kinds of grasses. There's ornamental grass, there's beautiful grass, there's just turf. You need to find out which one you have. And if you go to one of these nurseries that have arborists there, that have plant people there, that this is what they do, you will have a resource besides the internet, which is great. But I'm a people person, so I really like talking to the staff and saying, any ideas on this? What do you recommend? I've got an allergy. I want to little by little introduce myself into these plants, into my day-to-day life. Because one way to get through an allergy is to eat the honey. And why? Because there is a trace part of it that has that plant in it. If you get honey locally and you ask the honey keeper, the beekeeper, and say, where is this honey coming from? And he'll say, oh, I have a hive on blah, blah hill. I have a hive in the over there, and I have a hive there. So you'll know the demographic. If it's in your county, that's a pretty good start, but it can't be farther. There's some huge counties out there, huge counties. So if you're, and I'm living proof, I did this 25, 30 years ago now in my 20s. And it took time. And once in a while I had to take an allergy pill because I was just drooling all over. And I was doing a lot of public speaking. It's not a good look to have to blow your nose all the time or wipe it. So I took a spoonful, at least a teaspoon, but more like a tablespoon of honey every day. And then I incorporated it into like peanut butter and honey sandwiches. What you cannot do is you cannot add it to tea. You cannot add it to an ingredient in cookies or bread or any of that. Dr. Jacalyn, do you know why?
Because it changes the consistency or the effectiveness of it? No.
The effectiveness, because you cooked it.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be raw, natural honey. Why raw? Because you need the pollen that comes with it. If you go to the store, and there's plenty of whole food stores, natural food stores you can try, and it says, with pollen, without pollen, all this kind of stuff. So if you're highly allergic to it, take a, I don't know, let's use my pinky. Take a little pinky full and go with that and see how you react. Because people are allergic to these things and on the ingredients. But by being exposed a little teeny bit at a time, first of all, I hope you still are breathing, because then you took too much and you don't have a horrible rash and your face didn't turn purple or whatever your body's response is. And you're introducing something that's really great for you, really healthy for you, really holistic for you. You're helping the bees pass on the love. It takes time. It took me over 3 years of doing this a little at a time. When I finally clicked in, part of that, well, the first year was like, oh, how is this really going to work? And then I did the research. And by then I was working with this beekeeper full time. And the knowledge we both had and the passion, it's easier when you get passionate about it and you go, oh, okay. And you get over that, right? And the doctor says, oh, no, you have to have these pills. And you're like, oh, I don't want those pills. So when we get out of our own way, and honey's yummy. Depending on where you get it, you can get it darker, you can get it lighter. And that's all about what flowers and grasses the bees are coming from. So I got really good at looking at the jars and going, ooh, this one's wildflower, blah, blah, blah. And then I got jars and they would be dark, dark, dark. And then everything in every other lighter stage. And you'll find, like any taste, like anything, some people love 7-Up, some people like Coke, some people like Coke Zero, and whatever's in between, orange juice. Honey's no different. It tastes not like the flowers. You're not eating daisies all day. That would be fun. But I don't know what they taste like. I haven't eaten a daisy. But it will change according to what the bees are harvesting that pollen from. So be aware of that. You could get a little bit of a lavender aroma or taste to the honey, all the way through the sunflower, which is very, very neutral. It's very sweet. It just depends. And every year is going to change. As we're going through the drought, the honey issue really was hitting a wall. Because the bees really, really need that moisture. They need to drink just as much as anything else, but it changes the consistency and the sugar count of all of this. Now, if you have diabetes or any of those medical issues, always talk to your doctor. This is not health, whatever, but let me caveat this. Talk to a doctor that actually believes in natural and holistic medicine also. There's a time for Tylenol and a time for a cast, and there's time for a surgery. I've had them all. I completely am back there. But there's also time for a natural remedy. If you ever burn yourself on the stove, you will be so thankful you have that raw honey in your house.
That's a good point.
Everybody knows it. See, I'm glad you even know it. Then you put it on that burn. And we've all sadly done it, lit a paper towel on, and we're trying to get it off and we get burned. And that can be super painful.
Absolutely.
Super painful from what I understand. And you probably have more experience. I just break things and have other things to do at work. I try not to burn anything. But from hearing about it from people I've treated as a first responder, the honey cools all that down. And what is amazing is because when you get raw honey that has not been spun, that's not the pollen taken out, this is really critical. This can't be honey from the grocery store that was spun. Right. From Whole Foods or some kind of natural food, and it better say raw, unspun.
Yes.
You can put this on a cut. You can put this on a burn specifically until you get proper medical care. It really will save your life. And you can eat it too. Yay.
Yeah, dual purpose. I love it. You really shared a lot of wonderful tips today. So we'll be playing this show again
Wonderful.
this evening. Yeah, we're running each show twice a day, and we'll probably play it over the weekend. So you can also go to our YouTube channel and find it there.
Right.
Pet Psychic Amina, how can people get in touch with you, and who would you like to contact you?
If you have any natural and pet questions, I really try to educate as much as I can, share as much as I can. I limit myself on social media. Dr. Jacalyn is truly the US Global family is where I give out the most information, and I back it up with Facebook and LinkedIn. So feel free to catch me anytime there. And all of this can be found in one place, and that is my website, bridgingworlds.us. That is bridgingworlds.us.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And thank you for all of your expertise and your wisdom, your friendship. We wish everyone a beautiful weekend, and we'll be back again on USA Global TV and Radio on Monday. But again, we are running all of our shows twice a day. So if you don't get us live, you can get us on the replay, or you can get us on our YouTube channel. And thanks again. We'll be back Monday. Amina and I will be back on Friday. So we'll see y'all then.
Take
Bye,
care.
everyone. Bye, Amina.
Bye.
Bye.